The final boss of One Piece is here, and he may be significantly more red-headed than previously anticipated, because Shanks just got serious, and he's going after the One Piece, bringing him into direct conflict with our rubber-based protagonist. However, it should be known that it was definitely Luffy who picked this particular fight. All the way back in Chapter 1, in fact, where Luffy gives his trademark juvenile yet superbly ambitious speech. One day, I'll have a ship and a crew better than yours, and we're gonna have the biggest hoard of treasure in the world. I'm gonna be king of the pirates. So Luffy pretty directly challenged Shanks, although it should be noted that strength is not one of the metrics that Luffy cited. To Luffy, being the greatest pirate guy is more about who has the best friends, the most units of treasure, and probably who throws the best parties. Because that's how Luffy understands pirates. He understands them through the scope of Shanks. It's a very distorted view of piracy, but Luffy is essentially challenging Shanks to a Shanks-off. And it really could be Luffy's goal to attain wealth, fame, and power, all for the purpose of throwing the world's greatest party. One that not even Shanks could host, because it's an exclusive ability of the Pirate King, and therefore Luffy becomes the better pirate. No punches thrown, no swords doing the slicing, no haki, no fruit shenaniganry, no nothing, just solid party. That's Luffy's potential motivation anyway. But things get much more murky when putting our Crimson Shanks goggles on and asking the question, why is Shanks going after the One Piece? What does he have to gain from finding the treasure? He's never really displayed any desire, other than balance and planting seeds for the future. Although as a young Shanksling, he did say that one day he and Buggy would go to Laugh Tale together, which is looking increasingly possible with the current makeup of the four emperors. Imagine that. All this time, Shanks could have gone to Laugh Tale whenever he saw fit. However, he was waiting for best friend Buggy to catch up. But just like a hug that goes on for too long, it's touching, but we have business to attend to. And one major reason why Shanks could be making a genuine play for kinglyhood is simply to block Blackbeard, using his red to cancel out the black and thus allow Luffy a path forward. Or in the worst case scenario, Luffy fails and Shanks steps in to prevent Blackbeard from doing his evil Blackbeardy things. However, it could also be much more personal. When Roger returned from Laugh Tale, he said something that made Shanks cry, something that indicated that this island was intrinsically linked to Shanks and his own personal journey. To be honest, at this point, it doesn't matter. The fact is that Shanks has entered the game and is now an opponent of Luffy. A powersome one at that. In fact, Shanks is the demonstrable frontrunner for Pirate King at this point, because as threatening as Blackbeard is, the way Oda portrays him is nowhere near the level of sheer divinity that Shanks inhabits. Shanks is a child beater. Sorry, that was a script error. Shanks is a kid beater. He beat Eustace, former Captain Kidd, although he did it with a degree of honor. On Wano, Shanks made a speech to Green Bull, who couldn't actually hear him, but Shanks still said it anyway. Now, I'm not accusing you of fighting dirty, Navy man, but when the new shoots that just changed pirating history are exhausted from their feet, don't you think that what you're doing is a bit much? Mr. Navy man. I love that Shanks called him Navy man. It's like the sort of thing I would say. Which is why Shanks asked if Kidd had recovered before doing what Green Bull would have done regardless. I don't know, it seems like unnecessary extra steps to me, but Shanks has his system. A system which has often thrown the fanbase into a controversial conclusion, such as the infamous evil Shanks theory. The history of this idea is such a gem of the internet. It's been around for so long now that it's impossible to know where it really started, but the oldest known text suggesting this idea essentially reads as follows. Hey guys, it's me, Internet Forum Man, in late 2009. Just got done listening to some Lady Gaga, and I was thinking, what if Shanks was evil? I don't have any evidence to support this idea. I just thought it would be pretty cool. It's such a comically sketchy idea that the internet took and cultivated into what eventually became a semi-decent idea. An idea that reached its peak with chapter 907, which featured the bombshell ending of Shanks meeting with the Five Elder Stars. This was the moment where Shanks stocks were at their all-time high, because you have one allegedly good man speaking with five definite very bad men. So the only way we can make sense of this is if we actually have six bad men. Five Elder Stars and I suppose one Red Dwarf. And from there, all kinds of wacky thoughts were thrown around, like Shanks is the head of a secret cypherpole cell, some sort of CP Red. That or he's going full Kuma and he is a puppet emperor cyborg being controlled by the world government, or even a world noble in disguise. Although actually that last one kind of turned out to be true. Within film Reddit's heavily implied that Shanks is of world noble heritage and a descendant of the Figerland family, which was further compounded by the fact that Shanks was found by Roger in a chest on God Valley as a baby. That That part wasn't really in the movie. I mean, it was, but it wasn't explained, nor was it explained in the actual series. That information was given to us in Volume 4 Billion, where we saw Oda sketches of the 2-page Shanks origin story, one which was faithfully brought to completion by an online hero whose name I cannot find. But that's right, the origins of one of the most important characters in the series was revealed in a limited piece of media exclusive to those who attended the opening weekend of Film Red. So all I can say is thank crap for the internet. To address the Charlos in the room, Shanks being an evil world noble is potentially debunked by his sheer handsomeness, because when it comes to celestial dragons, their outward appearance tends to mirror their inward nature, as prominently displayed through the before and after of Don Quixote Moscard. The more good he becomes, the more his face actually rearranges into a more appealing shape. However, looks can be deceiving, as proved by a flamingo, whose existence shows us that world nobles can be both ideologically putrid and aesthetically appealing. Regardless, evil Shanks is considered to be more or less debunked these days, primarily through a TV interview Eiichiro Oda did for Film Red, where he was straight up asked whether or not Shanks was evil, and his answer was, "You will know the answer if you watch Film Red." So I guess the answer is yes, he is. Because sometimes I think I didn't see the same Film Red that everyone else saw, because what I remember is Shanks abandoning his daughter on an island populated exclusively by corpses, cut off from the outside world, in the only location in the world capable of reawakening an ancient music demon, and leaving Uta with the deliberate impression that the only people who ever loved her were evil and just using her. That's the impression I got. But the intention was to portray Shanks as a good guy. So that's our answer. Shanks is a generally good mentor man. However, he is still a problem for Luffy. So how can Shanks both be the final boss while still remaining friendly? Is there a way that Luffy and Shanks can compete without some sort of brutal fight battling? And the answer is yes, very yes. They can do this through the one and only pirate tradition that we know of in the series, a Davy backfight. Now I know that those words are going to bring back some very unpleasant Fox-based memories for a lot of you, especially if you watch the anime where that arc was butchered into oblivion, but just channel your inner treble and stick with me here. Because the history of the Davy backfight is far more interesting than you may remember, and also shockingly relevant to what's happening right now. The Davy backfight, quote, began long ago on Pirate Island, a pirate paradise somewhere in the ocean, and this vaguely defined island has since been both seen and named as Hachinosu, territory currently held by Blackbeard after a bit of a brutal kerfuffle with Ochoku, a former Rocks pirate alumni. That's right, the stupid Fox game began in the heartland of piracy, and Blackbeard himself even echoes this history by calling it the Pirate Paradise. And there's a pretty fun theory that the Rocks pirates actually formed as a result of a Davy backfight. I mean, thinking about it, how does one man recruit names like Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido? All such extra personalities somehow becoming subservient to a single silhouette? Well, the way Rocks could have accomplished this would be by winning them. And according to the rules of the Davy backfight, once recruited, you are unable to quit the crew. So all of the Rocks pirates would have been locked in until Zebek's eventual defeat at God Valley, after which point they were finally allowed to dissolve. Now, I understand that the logistics of this might be a bit difficult to comprehend. I mean, trying to imagine a situation where Rock says, "Now Whitebeard, you belong to me because you lost the donut race. I know, sucks to be you, but next time, just race better." To be fair, I imagine that the original Davy backfight probably would have been a lot more brutal than the PG Foxy version, because what he did was turn the Davy backfight into a traveling carnival. However, its origins were likely much more grander and much more costly competitions. And it could go back even further than Rocks. Usopp, Sanji, and Robin were all very familiar with the Davy back tradition, and Robin even recited the Davy Jones legend, implying that he is a figure who may have existed long ago in the One Piece world. In fact, Oda even drew a sketch of Davy Jones in the very same SBS where he drew NL without a hat, resulting in the bombshell reveal that allegedly NL has a perm. But I digress. Why is this relevant now? Why is anything I say ever relevant? Well, in this case, the greater point is that the Davy backfight is an honored pirate tradition. And what better way to prove that you're a greater pirate than another pirate than to beat them in the pirate game? Remembering that Luffy's metrics of becoming a great pirate have nothing to do with strength. Strength is a necessary element, but Luffy basically just needs to prove that his friends are better than Shanks' friends, which could result in all kinds of fun stuff, like say Usopp confronting his father in a sniper-based game, or maybe Brook could have a musical duel against the monkey, stuff like that. Completely wacky, absurd, and not at all power-scaling centric One Piece. But like every good event, this is not without delicious stakes. Instead of wagering crew members, the Straw Hats and the Red Hair Pirates could wager poneglyphs. Both crews at this point likely have information that the other needs, and it could be a friendly way of deciding who gets to go to Laugh Tale. But we could also make things much more sinister with a menage a barbe noire, which is apparently Blackbeard's name in French, which is pretty cool. Blackbeard is a sinister, volatile, putrid-smelling murderer, which ticks all of the piracy boxes, making him the perfect pirate. And I can absolutely see him agreeing to a Davy backfight, because Blackbeard is a piracy purist. Tradition is hard-coded into his alcohol-soaked blood, and he also has information to wager, although Blackbeard himself may be interested in acquiring crew members, like say a certain Nico Robin. And the Straw Hats might also be interested in acquiring some of Blackbeard's non-consensual crew, such as Charlotte Pudding, perhaps a Trafalgar Law, or even a Kobe. As twisted as Blackbeard and his crew are, really they're not so different from the Red Hair Pirates, or even the Straw Hats for that matter. All three of these crews abide by one simple law: we work hard, we play hard. And adding Blackbeard would also bring a sense of foul play into the game that is unlikely to be sourced from the more noble Straw Hats or Red Hair factions. However, we are still missing the most essential element of any pirate contest, which is blatant and shameless cheating, which could easily be provided by Buggy the Clown, turning this into the world's greatest Davy backfight, featuring all four emperors and Buggy giving us that much needed shot of underhanded but harmless Foxy. I understand that this video has now devolved into complete fan wank, but I couldn't think of anything more pirate than this, like taking the Pirate Festival idea from One Piece Stampede but actually making it good. But I also love the thought of a world where Long Ring Longland becomes one of the most important foundational arcs in the series, and in fact it is currently the one arc that we're still waiting on to pay off. Apart from the Kuzan stuff at the end, this arc is still widely regarded as canon filler. It's fun, it's really fun, but it doesn't do much. I love Tonjit, I love his long horse, and I love his ball of cheese. But Long Ring Longland, rather appropriately, coming full circle, would make One Piece the perfect series, where every single narrative element along the way comes back to smack you on the narrative behind, and finally gives some much needed justice for Foxy. And I'm only just now realizing that even though this video began as an examination of Shanks, it has well and truly developed into a Foxy appreciation piece. I promise I'll plan these a bit better in the future.